Hello everyone, this is Just a Dad. Today I'm going to do a review on this instant 2-in-1 multifunction coffee maker. It does K-Cups and Nespresso pods, the original line Nespresso pods. Model number DPCM-1100. So on one side of the coffee maker it does a coffee like a K-Cup, and on the other side it does Nespresso pods. This is called the original line Nespresso pod, and they come in all different flavors. Up here we've got the control panel. This is for the Nespresso pod side, which it says Espresso. It does 2, 4, 6. On the K-Cup side it does 8, 10, and 12. It's got a power button. We also have a bold button. We got a clean light that lets us know when it's time to descale, and an add water light. So to lift the handle, you just right here lift it up and it kind of undoes a latch. This is where you put the Nespresso pod. You just pop it in there like that. And on the K-Cup side, be careful, there is a sharp needle at the top and a sharp needle down there. You're simply just going to put the K-Cup in, you're going to close the lid, and it's going to pierce the top and the bottom. This little holder does come out, which you can clean, but it only goes in one way, so make sure you put it in and it sits nice and flush. Around the back we've got a really nice big water reservoir. It's got a nice big handle, and it's got a 2-prong plug. When they do ship it, there is a red plug in the bottom of the reservoir, so make sure you remove that. Up front, here's where the coffee and the espresso are going to come out in the exact same spot. And you've got this little flip down here. You've got a drip tray right here that comes out. And it's got this, will get quite a bit of water in it sometimes from dripping. Very easy to clean up. And then this also serves as a capsule storage, not storage, but it puts the empty capsules. So when it brews these Nespresso pods, after it's done brewing them, it drops them down into here, and that's how you empty it. You also get some water in there from the brewing process. And there's a little sight window on the front to let you know when this is filling up. Size-wise, you can do about a 6 1/4, but you can take the drip tray all the way out and do a 7-inch travel mug for your coffee. For the espresso, you can do about a 3 1/2 inch. So the unit is fairly big. It's about 15 inches front to back. It is a pretty tall unit. It's almost 21 inches tall with the lid open. Side to side, you're about 6 1/2. The unit is 1,500 watts of power is required. It does come with this getting started manual, it's pretty okay. It's a very simple machine to operate, so the instructions are pretty straightforward. So they did ship this model with a reusable K-Cup. So it's almost the exact same size as a K-Cup, but it doesn't get its bottom. So K-Cups, the needle will pierce the bottom. That needle doesn't come up and touch this, but they hold the same amount of coffee. K-Cup holds 2 tablespoons of coffee, and so does this. This one actually holds 2 tablespoons of coffee. It's got like a metal mesh filter. Now you will get a little bit of sediment when you use this, because K-Cups they have a paper filter inside them. This one does not have a paper filter, but you can add a paper filter. Let's talk about the Nespresso pods. Make sure you get the original line. They also sell another model. This is the Vertio line. It's a much bigger pod, looks completely different. This is kind of their older pod, but they still make a bunch of these in all different kinds of flavors and drinks you can get. So when you buy these, look on the box. It tells you what to brew it at. So it says this is like a 40 milliliter espresso shot. I've got another pack here. These here, they want you to brew it as a lungo. That's like a double shot. They want this pod brewed at 110 milliliters. So if you look at the pod, it just tells you what it is. This is the house blend. It doesn't tell you what to brew it at, and it doesn't tell you how many ounces to run through it. They're all the exact same size, but the ones that they tell you to brew at a smaller size have less coffee in them. So even though they look the same, the ones that want the double shot have more coffee grounds in them than the ones that are a single shot. And up here, I consider the 2 ounce a single shot and the 4 ounce a double shot. You can run 6 ounces through an espresso pod. I typically don't, but they do give you that option. So this is probably my favorite one. It's the Starbucks Espresso Roast. If you turn it around back, it tells you to brew it. You can brew it up to 25 milliliters, but I brew it up to single shot, which is the 40 milliliters. It doesn't say to brew it at the 110, which is a double shot. Now, coffee K-Cups, again, I brew my coffee K-Cups at 8 ounces. You can brew them at 6 or 10, depending on how you like the taste of it. It's fine. There's only 2 tablespoons of coffee in there. That's all that a K-Cup can hold. Okay, so let's brew this Pike Place, and it says to brew it at the double shot, lungo. So you just lift the handle up. These pods you just put right in there. And you can see there's kind of like a mechanism that's going to grab it and pierce the needle. So you just pop it in, close the lid, does all the work. Now we just come up here, I hit the double shot, the 4 ounce. It beeps at me. It starts brewing right away. Smells really good. The machine's not really loud and the touchscreen was very responsive. And it does beep at you when it's done. Let's see how hot that is. It's cooled off just a little bit, but about 165 is what it started out as. So now when I lift the handle, it'll drop that pod down into that storage vessel. I heard it just pop down in there. Now it's ready for its next, you can either do a K-Cup now or another Nespresso pod. Let's do a coffee now. Let's do a K-Cup. So lift it up. You don't have to push this down. When I close the handle, it'll pierce both the top and the bottom. I like to do mine on 8 ounces. So I said earlier you could do 6 ounces. This does not have a 6 ounce. The 8 ounce is the smallest. 8 ounce, 10 ounce, 12 ounce. Touch panel is very responsive. It does beep at you when it starts. You can turn those beeps off. I'm going to show you how to turn the beeps off. It's not super loud. About 180 is what I saw coming out. 175. The water coming out does get a little weaker towards the end. They do want you to stir these coffees. Now it is going to beep at me when it's done. I want to catch it. And it's kind of pulsing too. That is normal. Yep, there's the beeps. That cup of coffee ends up not bad, about standard. That's about a 165, 162 right now, cup of coffee. So the coffee tastes really good. I've been having the coffee out of here. It's really good at the 8 ounce. I would not go to the 10 ounce. It's a little watered down for me at the 10 ounce. Now, the espresso, I can't drink espresso straight like that. I have to mix it in with milk, have like a latte or a cappuccino. It's very delicious when I mix it in and have a latte cappuccino. It's just way too bitter for me to taste it like that. So now with the K-Cup, lift the handle up. Be careful, that can be hot. But I gotta remove the K-Cups when I'm done with them. Don't leave them in here. You will clog up your needles because the coffee grounds will kind of stick to the needles and clog it up. So remove these, let it cool down for a little while, but they do need to be removed. And then you're ready to go. So let's do some bold brews. The bold does work for the espresso side and the coffee side. So let's do an espresso roast. This calls for a single shot, so just drop it in, close the lid, hit the bold, it lights up, and we're going to do a single shot. Try to catch that temperature coming out. 170, 180, 185, 186. So there's your single shot on the bold setting. I didn't really notice it taking that longer. I didn't notice much of a difference on the bold setting. And you end up with a 150 degree single shot, 52. So it's a good thing you got a drip tray. It does drip quite a bit. So let's open it up. Let's do a bold coffee K-Cup. Let's put it in. Let's hit the bold. That lights up and it says bold, and I'm going to hit the 8-ounce button. You know, maybe the bold is increasing the temperature. It does seem a lot hotter, 190. And it might not be coming out as fast as the first time. It's a little hard to tell. The unit does, it gets a vibration from the lid. So if you hold the lid kind of vibrates on the water reservoir. About 190 for the bold setting. It is taking a little bit longer. I am noticing that. And then here's the pulsing at the end. Yeah, you can just tell it's taking longer. And you end up in the end with a much hotter coffee, 170 cup of coffee. So I think the bold is changing the temperature. Let's take the coffee K-Cup out. Now it's good to do freshwater rinses. You can run these machines, so don't put a K-Cup in and don't put an espresso pod in. And just run like a 2-ounce. This will kind of clean that area with hot water. You're supposed to do it in between strong flavors. So if somebody brews a really strong flavor of one kind and you want to brew another kind, you should do a freshwater rinse. Then I can also do a coffee. I can rinse the K-Cup side also. So you can see it's good to do a freshwater rinse. That's just hot water running through both sides. You can see the water's kind of discolored. And again, just be aware it does drip quite a bit. And here's there's where the pods go, I told you. And this is what the machine does. It pierces the front of it and the back of it. So it shoots hot water through it that way. Okay, so now let's use the reusable K-Cup that came with it. This machine also can take perfect pod reusable K-Cups. They're pretty much the same, except they've got this little area at the bottom. The needle still doesn't pierce the bottom of it, but they still hold 2 tablespoons just like this one. So your coffee has to be just standard coffee maker for a drip coffee maker. It should be ground at a medium grind. And so Easy Scoop sells this 2 tablespoon scoop. You scoop up your coffee grounds, put this little lid on, and throw it in there. So let's show how it works. Got my 2 tablespoons, put the lid on. It's okay if it mounds a little bit. Don't compact it, just let it sit there. Make sure there's nothing on the lip. We want this to have a nice tight seal. Press that down, make sure there's no coffee grounds and there's nothing on the outside. You're simply gonna come over here. You can put it in any old way. You can, any way you can put it in. Make sure it's nice and flush and the handle closes nice and easy. Let's just do a standard 8-ounce. I'm not gonna do a bold setting on this. You can do a bold setting, but I'm gonna just do 8-ounce. So it's really rich and dark at first, but it does lighten up towards the end. 184. Again, this is not on the bold setting. So yeah, the temperature is lower. And it actually goes down just a little bit as it brews. But then it kind of comes back up. So I might be inclined to brew on the bold setting every time just to get that temperature up there nice and hot. And all the coffee's coming out of that little spot right there. It's not leaking around the K-Cup or anything. Okay, it's done. So there you've got a cup of coffee using your own coffee grounds. It tastes really good to me. Some people say it might be a little watered down. I don't find that. I find that it depends a lot on the coffee grounds you use. If they're old, if it's a light roast, of course, but Yeah, but if it's just kind of old coffee, not ground very good, I have found that it seems to be watered down. But if it's a good quality coffee and you run it through there, it does fine. Let's see how it did up here. Yeah, see, it does real fine. It is hot, so be careful, but we got to take it out. So cleanup can be a little tricky on these. You got to take this over. You got to either recycle those coffee grounds or throw them away. I would not put them down your sink though. But even after you get the coffee grounds out, you do have to clean that up pretty good. And there's the coffee grounds. So I am very impressed with this. I am going to give it my Just a Dad sticker seal of approval. I'm going to show you a few more things on it. We're going to turn the beeps off. So in the manual it talks about sound settings. Press and hold the 4 and 6 ounce espresso buttons at the same time for 3 seconds. Wait for the 4 and 6 ounce buttons to blink twice. That turns them off. If you want to turn them back on, you just repeat those. Hold the 4 and 6 and the buttons will blink 3 times. So the beeps were not loud. I did find them maybe a little annoying, but you know, that might be all right though. Okay, so it says make sure the coffee maker is on. We're going to press and hold the 4 and 6 ounce together. Okay. Okay. Now let's see if we've got the beeps. Yep, the beeps went away. So now if I want to turn the beeps back on, I'm just going to hold these down again. And it says they'll blink 3 times. Yep. And now the beeps are back. Okay, so here is something. It will do, the water's getting low. My add water light's flashing. It looks like I've got enough for this brew, but it won't let me do my next brew, and I'll show you. Because they definitely stress, don't run these things dry. Okay, so we're done with that brew. The add water light is flashing. Now it deactivated the rest of them. I can't do any more brews until I add more water. So it did take, the add water light actually did come on right before the minimum. That's really good. That's really important. So don't run these dry, and it did come on before the minimum amount. So it does have a high altitude. If you live at a high elevation, like above 5,000 feet, like Denver, Colorado, you're supposed to put it in high altitude mode. I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to press and hold the 8 and 10 ounce button at the same time. Wait for the 8 and 10 ounce to blink 3 times. So 8 and 10. Make sure the unit's on. Press and hold these. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm in high altitude mode. Now let's take it out of high altitude mode. Just reverse it. There, only blinked twice. Miss Fiona likes to help with the reviews. Okay, so remember when I made a coffee with the reusable K-Cup? You may get a little bit of sediment in your coffee. If your coffee sits for a little bit, you'll get, that's called sediment. Now I think it adds a little bit of flavor, but you may not be used to it with a K-Cup, because K-Cups, like I said, the coffee is inside a paper filter. That's why with a K-Cup you don't get sediment in your coffee. But you can add a paper filter. They do sell, Perfect Pod sells these single serve paper filters that are made for these, and you can use these K-Cups. These K-Cups work in this machine also, so if you want to buy some extras, I'll put a link to them in the show description notes. But you would just put the filter in here first, okay? Then put your coffee grounds, the same amount, and then close the lid. It's okay if it's get sandwiched between the lid. And then you would brew your coffee, and then you won't get that sediment. But I think it's okay without using the paper filter. It does taste pretty good. And keep an eye on this clean light. After 300 cycles, it will turn that clean light on, and you do have to descale it with vinegar. I'm going to do a separate video to show you that. Again, and also the 10 and 12 ounce may flash on you. If these two are flashing, it's time to descale also. So the control panel is very nice. It's very, I haven't had any problems with the touch panel. It seems very responsive. I haven't had to like double press or press hard, or it doesn't touch it. If I touch it really light, it doesn't go. So very nice control panel. It does drip a lot, so make sure you're keeping an eye on the drip tray. It does kind of fill up quite a bit. It doesn't splatter a whole bunch, maybe just a little bit. I do think it looks really nice. So this is their older one, And I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison with the older one. It doesn't have the brew button, the bold button. So right now, this thing costs $200 on Amazon. They just released it. I think $200 might be a little too much. It seems like around the $150 price tag would be okay, I think. But that is the price of it right now. I've only seen it on the Amazon. I'm sure it's going to be widely available. Their older one was very widely available. It sold very well at Walmart. I haven't seen this new one at Walmart. In fact, the old one disappeared from Walmart, at least the Walmarts I've been around. So I knew something was up. They stopped making the old ones or something. And so then I think they were getting ready to release this new one. It's a very capable machine. But if you want to do K-Cups and Nespresso pods, it doesn't have a frother or anything extra like that. You got to buy a separate frother if you want a cappuccino or a latte. But it's a very capable machine. Very quick. The mess isn't tremendous amount of mess to do. So check out my other videos. I'm going to do a comparison on the very next one. I'm also going to do a descale. Thanks everybody for watching.